Get ready for Hosts at Home. On today's show, for the first time ever, one episode, two hosts. You watched him on Nickelodeon GAS and Slime Time Live. Dave Aizer. He worked for Nickelodeon GAS and ended up co-hosting Slime Time with Dave. It's Jonah Travick. And now, here's your host who interviews the host, Adam Wurtzel.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you, everybody. Hello. Welcome. Welcome back to Hosts at Home. Hello from my kitchen. I'm literally at home. This, of course, the show where we chat with your favorite hosts, past and present. And on today's show, not one, but two. That's right, two hosts. If you grew up when I did, you watched Nickelodeon. It was probably your dream to get slimed. Well, these two individuals happen to make many, many dreams come true over the years. Please welcome Dave Aizer, Jonah Travick from Slime Time Live. Good to see you guys.
No.
Is this when was the last time you both were in an interview together?
Jonah, what's the answer to that?
Only when we interview each other. I mean, when we catch up, but not a formal interview. I don't remember, man.
Yeah, we did plenty of stuff when the show was going on in the early 2000s, but this is like the first group reunion tour show. I've done stuff on my own. I'm sure Jonah has too, but it's nice to, Adam, you know what? Thank you for bringing us together.
You're so welcome. And on behalf of everybody that's watching this right now, I think the fans are going to be very excited to see you both together.
Good.
Yeah, David,
we love our fans.
Yeah, we stayed in touch this whole time. So Dave is still one of my closest friends. So we don't see each other because we live a couple hours away, but we stay pretty much in touch. I'm proud to say that we're still very tight.
Jonah looks exactly the same as he did in the early 2000s.
But you do too. This is the interesting thing. And, we've interviewed a few different Nickelodeon hosts on this show. Both of you, Phil Moore, Kirk Fogg, I don't know what was in the water at Nickelodeon Studios, but you all literally looked like you just stepped off the set.
It's the slime.
The slime is nourishing and refreshing. It's the fountain of slime youth, something like that.
I love, and there was literally a fountain. There was a geyser right in front of you, so it makes sense.
So we were exposed to all that stuff, that high radiation level of GAC. So I think we're kind of mutants in a way because we were around it, exposed to it. So,
and in 2021, I think that's the one thing that you do want to be exposed to.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, some people would probably choose radiation over the other alternatives.
Yeah. I want to talk, you guys mentioned just being a couple hours apart. We always like to ask this up first, and we'll start with you, Dave. Dave, where is home for you?
Pompano Beach, Florida. So South Florida, pretty close to Fort Lauderdale. Our show was in Orlando. I left Florida after Nickelodeon. I went to Los Angeles. I went to Manhattan, and I came down to South Florida where I grew up. So I'm back where it all began, South Florida.
Jonah, how about you?
I'm Orlando, born and raised, still here in Orlando. So just a few hours north of Dave. Not too far from where Universal. I did technically move to a suburb of Orlando, but I'm still in the general vicinity near Universal and Disney World.
I want to talk about, we're going to talk a lot about Nickelodeon and Slime Time Live. I want to talk about hosting first. The thing that I loved watching you both on Slime Time Live is you were both fantastic hosts, but you were both so completely different in your style. Dave, I'll start with you. How did you get into the world of hosting?
When I was a kid, I'm originally from New York before I moved to South Florida. I grew up a huge sports fan. I was a Yankees fan, a Jets fan, and from an early age, I would watch the games on TV and broadcast them. I always wanted to be a sportscaster. That was all I wanted to do. I went to middle school, fell in love with acting, did a bunch of plays, and then high school, fell in love with journalism. I did the morning announcements on camera of my high school and still did some acting. And that was it. I knew I wanted to be in that field. I went to the University of Miami, majored in broadcast journalism, did a lot of sports radio and TV for UM. And I've just had a love affair with entertaining from as long as I can remember. And I do some other stuff now, but it's all under the same sort of heading of presentation, public speaking, hosting. And I can't imagine doing anything else. I love it so much.
Are you still a Jets fan after the season they just had?
Not only am I a Jets fan, I launched the first episode of my brand new New York Jets podcast called Jet Setters. Thank you for asking. I am a huge Jets fan and still praying that one day in my lifetime they'll win a Super Bowl.
I'm going to follow. Can I find it on Spotify?
Yeah, Jet Setters.
I'm from Long Island, New York originally, so I know not just crying over the scores in the game, but the drive to the Meadowlands is also like horrific.
Everything about being a Jets fan is horrific. Yeah, I can't take it.
Oh man, Jonah, let's talk to you about the world of hosting. I did a little research. You sort of fell into this.
It literally fell into it. We were. I'll try to be the story quick. I was on the show I was working as a production assistant or assistant coordinator. My job was to do, help prepare schedules, distribute schedules, craft services, just kind of on set kind of coordination stuff. And then one day on the it was a live show, so we would have camera blocking, which is where you kind of go through the rehearsal, not just for the talent go through lines, but for the crew to know their spots, what they have to be, where they have to be, because it's all live. You get one chance to do it. So during the blocking, they hadn't hired a actor or person to do or to play the part of picking the card for Dave. And they just the stage manager asked, "Hey, can you just fill in, just go through the motions with Dave?" Well, Dave and I already had kind of a chemistry. We were already friends. We had our own little rapport. So I like, yeah, it'd be fun. I just was having a good time with it and just riffing with Dave. And Dave is easy to riff with. He's a natural at that. So I was just doing it for the fun or just doing it for rehearsal, intending them to hire someone. And then after about a week, I think, of tech and rehearsals, they said, "Okay, we're going live next week, Monday. Do you want to do it for the first week of the show? We still haven't hired anyone." Like, yeah, it'd be fun. I'll be on TV for a week. Why not? It'd be fun. Well, it just kind of kept going. The next thing you know, we were 2 weeks into it. And they were like, I forget how they asked me about it, but it just kept going. And I ended up doing the whole first season. But it was the funny part was we would have guests on the show come in, and I would be giving them water, their script, show them their dressing room, show them where their hair and makeup is. "Hey, you want anything? I'm your guy." I go get their lunch, give them anything they needed. And then they just knew I was their kind of gopher guy. The next thing you know, an hour later, I'm sitting next to them in the makeup chair, and they're putting makeup on me. And Nick Cannon or someone would be like, "Wait, aren't you the PA?" I'm like, yeah, I do that too. So I would do that. I work all morning in the office, do the show in the afternoon, and then I have about 3 to 4 hours of work to catch up because I've been playing host for the last 3 hours. Now I have to go to my desk and make paperwork piled up. So that's how it kind of happened.
First time I remember seeing you, Jonah, I think the only thing I saw was your head popping out of the mailbox.
Sorry, Jonah, I lost count. I got sidetracked. The next game is coming, and it could be you.
How did you get into that mailbox?
The front lid would come off. They had latches on it. And then, so the hole was big enough for my arm and head to stick out, but the whole front would come off like a panel. I would climb in and they would latch it back together.
We're going to talk a lot more about Slime Time Live. Dave, you have a rich history with Nickelodeon. March 1st, 1999, a channel premieres called Nickelodeon GAS, Games and Sports for Kids. It was a digital cable channel. I didn't have it for like a couple years until, after it launched. I don't know if people really knew what digital cable was in March of 1999. Can you tell us about Nick GAS and how it all came about?
Sure, yeah. So Nick GAS, like you mentioned, was a digital channel, and GAS was Games and Sports. And it was myself and Vivian Collins. She was my co-host. And then Maddie Moralejo came on board later. And it was dedicated to literally games and sports. So we would show episodes of Guts and any sort of sports-related content that Nickelodeon had or game-related content. And then I would host the channel. And it was set in a garage. It was cool because as I mentioned earlier, always loved sports. So that was pretty fun. It's amazing. Jonah, I don't know about you, but like, sometimes it feels like yesterday, sometimes it feels like 150 years ago. I'm like, what did I do? Where was I? But yeah, it was pretty cool to be able to host a sports channel. I had a ton of fun.
Do you remember the early days of the channel? I mean, did you ever feel like, man, is anybody actually watching this yet?
Yeah, I did. And according to the ratings, the answer was no. Nobody was actually watching. I was so grateful because maybe I was, I don't know, it was like early 20s. Maybe I was 21, 22 years old. I had just graduated college. Maybe I was 23, I don't know. And just to be on a national television show was awesome. And if people weren't watching, I just figured that wasn't my problem. Let me just host and do what I can do. And from that, they liked me enough that they gave me slime time, which was super cool. And I just want to tell one quick story about Nickelodeon Games and Sports. For anyone listening, this is a story I always tell because I think it can really help people. Before Games and Sports, I was working at Disney World at the ESPN Club, which was a sports restaurant, sports bar that had live entertainment. Myself and another guy, we were the sports hosts. We were on stage and we would do trivia contests and talk shows, but just for the people in the restaurant. It wasn't broadcast or anything. So I was doing that and I was enjoying it, but I wanted more. I really wanted it. I wanted to be on TV. So I found out the Nickelodeon Games and Sports, this brand new channel, was hiring hosts. And I didn't know too much about it other than it was on TV and it was about sports. So I called my agent in Orlando at the time. And I said, hey, there's this thing at Universal 20 minutes down the road. Tomorrow they're auditioning these hosts for this brand new sports channel on TV. Get me an audition. And long story short, my agent essentially did not believe in me enough to get me an audition. Essentially told me I wasn't ready. Wow. But told me to call her back the next day because she wanted to think about it. This is my agent, who I'm paying. Called her the next day. She wasn't even in the office. And I said to her assistant, well, is there an audition for me today? Did she leave word? No, I'm sorry, no audition. So I hung up the phone and I was upset and depressed and angry. And in that moment, I made a decision that changed my entire life. And this is why I'm sharing the story. I decided to go to Universal Studios anyway without an appointment and essentially beg to see the casting director. And I wouldn't take no for an answer. I was going to audition for this thing. So I grabbed my VHS tape of my demo, my resume, and my headshot. I drove to Universal. I might have fibbed a little bit and made up a story about an audition that I didn't really have, but it worked, got me in. And I waited outside the casting director's door. And when she opened the door, I essentially begged her to see me. The audition went, so she brought me in. I auditioned, didn't even have a script, didn't know what I was doing. I auditioned. She said, all right, try it again. Did it again. And she brought me into her office and called my agent and got my agent's assistant and reamed her out on the phone in front of me for not sending me because I was the best person she had seen. And from there, Nickelodeon flew me to New York to audition for the second round. And from there, I got the job. And then from there, my agent called me and congratulated me on getting the job and told me how excited she was that we were going to work together. And then I fired my agent and moved on from there. So the moral of this story that I hope wasn't too long is that you should always believe in yourself and don't tell other people, don't have other people tell you that you can't do it. Don't listen to them. If you think you got it, go for it.
I guess in a way you kind of have that agent to thank, because I guess if it wasn't for her saying, no, I'm not going to do it, and you just basically saying, I'm going to go do it anyway, you and Jonah probably wouldn't have known each other and you would have definitely not gotten Slime Time Live.
Actually, the funny thing is we did already know each other. He just mentioned that that place at Disney worked as that sports host. I actually worked with him there. That's actually where I met him before even Games and Sports. I was a technician for that in-house sports show that he did at Disney at ESPN Club.
I have one more question related to this story. Did your agent try to ask for like her 10, 15% after you did it yourself?
No, I didn't give her a chance. I mean, I was still pretty livid about the whole thing. But one of the things that she did keep saying was she kept using the word we and us, like to say, this is so great for us. We're going to do great things together. I'm so excited for us. And I said, if by us, you mean me and my new agent, then yes, I totally agree. We're not ever working together again. Goodbye.
And less than a year after Nick GAS launches, you get Slime Time Live. There had been incarnations on Nickelodeon, I guess, special events, because Phil Moore talked about the fact that he hosted Slime Time in the 90s. How did this incarnation of Slime Time Live come about?
And yeah, Phil's right. There were other versions of it ahead of time, but so Double Dare 2000 was launching. And actually, I wanted that. I wanted to host that. Who doesn't want to host Double Dare? And I didn't even have a chance to audition for it or anything because they had already chosen their host, Jason Harris. So they said to me, hey, we're doing this thing called Slime Time. The idea is it's going to be on a few minutes at a time, pushing to Double Dare. it's going to be live. You're going to dump some slime. It's going to be fine. But it's going to be, Jonah, I think it was like a 10-week run was the original plan, right?
Yeah, it was 10. It was going to be 10 weeks. That was it.
They said here's what it is. It's 10 weeks long. If you want it, great. If not, that's fine too. We'd like for you to do it. You're not doing Double Dare. Get that out of your brain. Do you want this? And I, of course I wanted it. Of course. I mean, I did really want Double Dare, but I'm not going to turn down Nickelodeon live afternoon TV. So I did it, excited about it, of course. And then, one season later, Double Dare wasn't renewed or whatever. It didn't last that long. And then 5 years later, Slime Time was still this epically huge thing. So everything happens for a reason.
And we were engaging the audience at a time when you usually get up for a snack or flip the channel. When we would go to commercial, they would stay tuned to see what we're going to do during that commercial break. We were sometimes bigger than the show that we were wrapping around. And so that kept audience there. Advertisers loved it because they were watching the commercial breaks. The networks loved it because we kept the audience for 3 hours there and kept them a reason to keep going. And they would introduce new shows through us. We were the vehicle to bring that new show in. They would launch it on our show, and then they would move it to its regular slot after they showed it to our audience first.
And Dave, for you, it wasn't like you did Nick Gas and then did Slime Time. You were doing both simultaneously. You had those two. You had You Pick Friday Live for a while. You were a panelist on Figure It Out. Were those times just crazy hectic for you?
Yes.
So much fun. Yes, they were. So much fun. But I would get laryngitis fairly frequently. I actually had some vocal stuff, and I had to get vocal massage, which is super painful. They get in there and just work the muscles. I was talking all day long. It was an energy. I'm glad I was young because I was just from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. was hosting.
Dude would be tired. I remember him being so exhausted, and he would turn it on for the camera, and then when he turned it off, it was over. Yeah, he would be exhausted. It was. I can't even imagine having to keep that much energy all day long. And he was doing it. We would do his show Gas in the morning and do Slime Time in the afternoon. And then there were days we would do 2 episodes of Slime Time a day. We would pre-tape one in the can, and then we would do one live. And then the next day he's doing Gas all day. I can't imagine it.
That's crazy. And by the way, I want to give a quick fun fact. I came to Nickelodeon Studios. One of the years was 2000. You guys were dark. But the Gas Garage and the set of Slime Time Live, when I looked overhead, they were on the same soundstage.
And we had the same crew. A lot of them were the same crew also.
Right.
So he would have the same camera operators and tech people, and they would just come over and switch gears to Slime Time.
That's it. Just roll the cameras off. One of the iconic things about Slime Time Live, besides you two, besides the games, were the special guests. So I'm going to ask this question to each of you. Who was your favorites, your most iconic special guests that you each had?
Iconic, I would say, is Robin Williams.
He wasn't on the show, though. He just came.
Oh, that's a good point. Good point. I'm sorry.
That's a great story. Tell that story.
He wasn't on the show. That's a good point. But what happened was we would get a lot of famous celebrities who had kids that were fans of ours. So we'd be in the makeup room or backstage before the show or during the show, and the guest relations from Universal would come in, or Nickelodeon would come in and say, "Hey, Mr. Robin Williams is here, and his kids would really like to meet you. Would that be okay if we brought him?" Like, yeah, I want to meet him. Bring him in. So that was how he came in, and was very humble. Got a photo with him. Super nice guy. And then we told the kids the same. They thought we were cool. He told us we were the coolest. I said, "No, your dad's the coolest thing ever." So that's mostly what I remember. But I remember him being super nice. But yeah, he wasn't on the show. I forgot. He wasn't actually on the show.
He was so awesome and so funny and cool. And then in terms of on the show, gosh, so many. Macho Man Randy Savage actually co-hosted the show with me for a full day, which was fun because I grew up watching him as a wrestler. Hulk Hogan was there, another wrestler.
Hulk Hogan, well, then he didn't come on either. He was just there with his kids.
Well, his daughter was
daughter was the host.
We had
Brooke
the
Hogan, yeah.
boy bands, right? Like Backstreet was on, the guys from NSYNC came on. So that was super fun. And Greg Maddux, I'm a huge baseball fan. Greg Maddux was on the show one day. I got to pie him. That was pretty cool.
Tony Hawk is iconic. Nick Cannon, Ziggy Marley, which is Bob Marley's son. Those are probably iconic ones. We had a lot of people, but iconic, those would be the iconic ones that are.
That's the more you know. You had some amazing guests on the show. One special guest that you guys didn't mention that I have to mention because my wife, Carly, was the biggest and still is the biggest O-Town fan in the world. And she was in the audience when O-Town performed their hit single, All or Nothing.
Yes.
So you guys remember that girl in yellow in the front row, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
The girl in yellow from the O10 episode. Of course. Obviously. Yeah.
Yes. Now, that clip is probably on YouTube. You should look that up, Adam.
It is. I looked it up. We're going to show a clip of it here.
Down. Great job, guys.
There's a lot, one of the things on this show that's really difficult is a lot of times finding clips to show, as B-roll. Slime Time is an exception. It is easy to find that stuff all over YouTube.
You know what's special about, I'm sorry, I know what's special about those videos. You're right. There's a ton of it on YouTube, but those YouTube videos is not like Nickelodeon hosts uploading these videos. You're actually watching people who recorded themselves, like who are going to be at home and want to record themselves. Hey, I'm going to be on Nickelodeon Day. Record me. Turn the VCR on. And so you're watching people's home recordings of the broadcast, and they're just uploading them to YouTube. And those are the only archive of our show because the network ain't got it. I've asked. I don't have that many of them. So that is our archival. And the other thing that's special is, Dave, you got to realize that this was the days before social media and before all these phones had really good cameras. So everyone was taking photos that they were printing. We're in photo albums. That's what's really special to me. We're in photo albums all over the country and some other countries also. And that's really special to me because I've had people contact us, Dave, that would send us pictures from their photo album that they took with us 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's what always sticks with me is I'm in photo albums all over the country.
Just the other day, someone sent me on Instagram a picture. I get the pictures a lot, and I don't know. It means so much to me to have been a part of a show that meant so much to so many people. To be able to, as a legacy, I'm no more important on that show than Jonah was, than the craft service person was, and the camera operator was. But all of us together built something that exploded, and people to this day still not just share pictures. I mean, say things like, your show was a huge part of my childhood. You were a hero of mine when I was a child. Thank you. It's just so meaningful. So when you reached out and said, let's talk about Slime Time, I said, yeah, sure. When? Let's do it.
One thing Florida is known for is its afternoon rain. And this is something I've genuinely always wondered about the show. When was the call made to tape the show either inside or outside? And was there ever a time where you decided to tape outside and then you looked up and then the clouds just opened up?
You want me to get that one, Dave?
Yeah, go for it. You have the production background.
Yeah, I was out, and especially the first season, I was very much in tune to this. As part of my job as a coordinator, I had made a contact with the local weatherman from one of the networks, and literally he would allow me to call him out throughout the afternoon to check on the weather, the actual specific detailed weather report right over Universal Studios. And so that first season, I was always calling him. And I think after that, they may have kept that relationship going. Anyway, we never got drenched. There were times we made the wrong call and then the rain would come down. They would say, move it inside. And they would reset within 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes we would just do a quick shot off to the side while they're still rolling equipment past us in the background.
Live TV.
Yeah. And it's funny. I worked with a lot of those crew people still that, and we still have that ongoing joke, moving inside. We would just say that, and we all know, he's from Slime Time, moving inside.
Before we talk about everything that Dave and Jonah are doing now, I want to do something that we have never done here on Hosts at Home. And I'm going to put you both on the spot for a second. I'm going to let each of you ask each other a question. It can be about Nickelodeon. It could be about Slime Time Live. It could be about anything at all. This is a Hosts at Home first. Jonah, I'm going to start with you.
On the spot. Okay, Dave, when they were trying to figure out who would be your sidekick, who was it what were the options? Did they discuss options with you? Did they ever come to you and say, what do you think about Jonah? Or should we go with the chimpanzee still? Or should we go?
You. And I think my first answer was Jonah who? And then, I said categorically no. Yeah, no, they asked me and I emphatically said yes. I don't know how much I ultimately had to do with it, but yeah. Yes, with like 5 exclamation points. Same thing with Jessica. I knew both of you guys would be great on camera. So yeah, if I played a part in it, I'm grateful and I'm glad that I did. But you were amazing. No one else could have done that.
Good answer. Good answer. Dave, you're up.
Man, Jonah, when I'm editing on Adobe Premiere Pro, and I need to,
he's telling the truth. Go ahead.
Over the years.
Yeah, he calls me or texts me with those questions a lot. That's a real question there. I'm sure.
I had him do a tutorial for me about editing. Okay, let me think. I don't know, man. I guess I would say, okay, here's a good one. Let's say they brought us all together again. We got to do one final reunion Slime Time episode. And we could have any special guest join us. It could be someone who was famous then, someone who's famous now, whomever. Who would be your dream guest?
That guy on the poster behind me.
MJ?
Yeah. He was in a building that one day and I missed him by like 30 seconds.
Right. Yes. Michael Jackson was in the building when we were taping. And I don't know. Did they ask him to come on the show? What happened?
No, he had to go to the bathroom. So they brought him in that because it was a secure area inside the studio. He went to the bathroom. Then he came out and he wanted to taste the slime. So we were upstairs. He went in the room where they make the slime was right next door to our makeup room. But we were upstairs at the time and we weren't in the makeup room. And we could have probably met and saw Michael Jackson because he came in there and tasted the slime. And the late, I forget our guy, Kevin was making the slime and he gave Michael Jackson the taste of it. So
good.
That's a good question.
Good answers. I'm surprised the answer wasn't O-Town, but that's okay. We'll just move on. Let's talk about what each of you are doing now. Jonah, you mentioned you still work with a lot of the crew from Slime Time and from Nickelodeon. Tell everybody what you're up to.
Well, right after Slime Time, because I went to Nickelodeon to be in production, to work in television. I've always wanted to do that. I'm literally following my dream. I'm still working in that. I don't necessarily do TV per se because of the market I am, but I still do film and video production, mostly commercials and corporate, a lot of stuff on the internet. It's professional, but it's not necessarily a TV show.
And Dave, you're the first host that's ever been on Hosts at Home who makes a living working with hosts.
Yeah, I do some occasional hosting still, but predominantly I coach hosts and public speakers. I have a public speaking and media consultancy where I work with companies, I work with individuals, just making them more dynamic and confident and compelling presenters, whether it's on TV, giving speeches, Zoom presentations. I get a lot of people now who need help being on Zoom. But yeah, I've been super fortunate to be able to pay forward what I've learned in a lifetime of being on camera and being on stages.
Dave, to your right, there's some books. Tell us about those books next to you.
The one on top is A Hypochondriac's Guide to Beating Cancer. I am a stage 3 melanoma survivor. I had cancer 6 years ago. Melanoma, if you don't know, starts out as skin cancer, but it then infiltrates your body and spreads around. It's potentially really, really bad. But I made it through, and I wrote a book about it because I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, and I went through a lot of emotional trauma when I was diagnosed. Every time I got a headache, I thought the cancer was spreading to my brain. And every time I had a stomach ache, I thought it was in my liver. And every time I coughed, I thought it was in my lungs. And I lived with that for a few years, just waiting to die, essentially. It was really, really tough, but I made it through. I'm I'm much more grateful. I'm much more aware of living in the present. I'm just a better person. So I wanted to write a book to let people know that, hey, if you have cancer and you're terrified, it's okay. Because I promise whatever crazy stuff you're thinking, there's someone out here who has thought crazier stuff. And then the other book is Lights, Camera, Speech. I do quite a bit of public speaking and media consulting. And I wrote a book, which is kind of like a 101 of whatever you would need to know if you were going to give a speech or be on TV, or even just sit in a room and engage with people. So this is my public speaking memoir, if you will.
And you have an 11-month-old baby, so you're still working with slime, but just in a very different sort of way.
Right. I have a different kind of slime. Yeah, for sure.
You guys have been amazing. You guys are truly fun. It's so fun to see this friendship still together. Dave Aizer, Jonah Travick have been our guests today on Host at Home. We have another great host on next week's show, and there's only one man that knows the answer to who that host is. That is Richard Malmus. Richard, who's in the show next week?
Next time on Hosts at Home, a country music Hall of Famer and game show host. Bill Anderson explains how his country career led him to work for game show legend Mark Goodson. Plus, his unique friendships with Gene Rayburn, Bert Convey, and Alan Ludden. It's gonna be a good one. Back to you, Adam.
Thanks, Richard. That's right. Bill Anderson on the show next week. A legend, a country music legend, but now we're talking to him about a whole other side of his career in hosting. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate the support. Our guests today have been amazing. From Slime Time Live, from Nickelodeon, Dave Aizer, Jonah Travick. I don't close the show here on Hosts at Home. Dave, Jonah, that's your job. Over to you guys.
Hey, Dave, before I go, man, I got to run out of here. But to answer your question, you want to go in Premiere to import or export settings, or possibly even click on create proxies, okay? As you click create proxies, choose 1280 by 1080, okay? That's to answer your question.
I don't even know if that was English. I didn't get any of it, but thanks, Jonah. I'll call you later so you can explain it to me. But that is a sample of a lot of our conversations. I had a blast. I always love talking to Jonah, hanging out with him. Adam, it's great to work with such a great host. And I guess I'll just close by saying what we always used to say at the end of our shows: slime you later.
And by the way, before we continue, I have lots of family members in Fort Lauderdale. So I would like to formally give a shout out to my favorite place, the Aruba Beach Cafe. Dave, have you been to Aruba Beach?
Have I been there? It's amazing. It's phenomenal. It's 10 minutes from me. They have a lobster sandwich roll thing. You know what? I'm going to go get one later. Thank you for that. You just put it on my radar. It's so good.
And by the way, the peel and eat shrimp served on the chilled ice. I mean, it really does just put you in that kind of Caribbean mood right on the beach.
It's right on the beach. Yeah. So the next time you come down to South Florida to visit your family, hit me up. We'll go to Aruba.
Done.
And Jonah will come down.
This episode of Post at Home is in no way sponsored or paid for by Aruba Beach Cafe. I just want to make sure to say that.
Not yet.
Not yet. Aruba Beach, give us a call. We will take your shrimp and your lobster rolls.